video is not suitable for children. It complies with the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, and therefore it's YouTube compliant. Black people are more likely than others to be sincerely readers of the Bible, and they believe that it is true and is inspired word of God. Therefore, they believe that their pastors, their preachers, and their prophets are teaching them the truth. Yet if you have ever ventured to ask and answer the following questions: why, since the majority of us, over 83%, follow the Bible, are we not succeeding as a race? Do pastors, prophets, preachers know the Bible? And more importantly, other than faith, what other proof do you have to believe in the Bible? Over 77% of black people have put their beliefs and trust in this book. Archaeology has been pushed as one huge plus by biblical apologists. Let's ask and answer fairly. Does biblical archaeological evidence prove the Bible? Before we proceed, let us realize these facts. That archaeology is funded by universities, charities, paying participants or funding bodies, such as the arts and humanities, research councils. They do this for a purpose. But what is archaeology? Archaeology provides scholars with the primary data necessary to answer certain questions. As archaeology is a means to an end rather than an end in itself, archaeologists do excavations to solve a problem or test a hypothesis. The artifacts that they gather become a primary source for anthropologists, ethnologists, paleontologists, biologists, and historians. In short, archaeology is the set of methods used to extract information regarding the past from the earth and from the sea. Therefore, biblical archaeology must show and prove to the world the existence and via the bones or any other archaeological proofs of people like Moses, Abraham, Isaac, Joseph. Proof, not a theory. Let us look a little bit deeper on those that fund archaeological digs. From the book Is the Bible African History by Neil M.C. Sinclair. You can get this book from Amazon. Very fantastic, powerful book. We learn the fatal power and agenda of those who fund archaeological digs. This influence is rarely preached or taught to Christians and others. This is the dark side of archaeology. So we have organizations like the Egypt Exploration Society that changed its name and that funded a lot of archaeological digs. Does archaeology support the Bible with proof? Someone will say yes. Exodus 17:6 records that God instructed Moses to strike a rock when they were dying of thirst. Water will come out of it. And therefore, some archaeologists and researchers have said they found the rock in Mount Sinai. And there is the rock, there are the images. And there is the rock that is split. It says, he split the rocks in the wilderness and gave them abundant drink like the ocean depths. He brought forth streams also from the rock and caused waters to run down like rivers. Psalm 78:15-16. And the black people, over 77% or 83%, believe this story, follow this story, pray to this God, want this God to give them the waters of life. Is this biblical archaeology proof? Are there more such archaeological evidences elsewhere? Who discovers them and where? Who finds their discoveries? We'll answer these questions adequately, but first, let us go a little bit deeper, looking at the organization that funded most of our Egyptological digs, the 1882 Egypt Exploration Society. We read a number of stories here that they went to Sinai to dig because they wanted to prove the Exodus and the stories of Moses. But when they were digging, they found archaeologists and Egyptologists like Papetree, When he was standing there, they called the place Kabit el Kadim now. These are the Arabs. They found an old temple with inscriptions dating back to the time of the 4th dynasty by Pharaoh Chinefuro or Chinofura. They call him Sneferu, who ruled 2600 before Common Era. That was well before the Bible story. Expecting to find some form of Semitic altar stone beneath the soil, what he discovered was in fact a vast Egyptian temple, clearly of some importance. Unfortunately, many of the specific artifacts as portrayed in Petri's photographs and writings are no longer there. They've removed that. That's archaeology for you. And moreover, they have been strategically concealed from open scrutiny. Many of them were taken away. You can see these camels loaded with crates of artifacts from the Petrie-led British School of Archaeology in Egyptian excavation, taken to private hoards. According to Gardner, the reason why this was done, many of the primary artifacts were secreted to storage, is that Petrie's discovery was viewed with great displeasure at the time and was reckoned to contradict the Exodus portrayal of the events at the Holy Mountain. It was here that Moses was said to have seen the burning bush, where he talked to Jehovah, burned the gold calf, or the tables of testimony. In practice, the Petrie report did not overturn the biblical account in any way. What it challenged was the church's interpretation of the story and the manner in which it was being taught. Essentially, his discovery contravened the regulations of the Egypt Exploration Fund. The fund's 1891 founding memorandum and articles of association state that its objectives included the promotion of surveys and excavations for the purpose of elucidating or illustrating the Old Testament narrative. This, of course, meant the Old Testament as it was traditionally interpreted, not necessarily as it was written. Capture that. Is very important. Does archaeology prove the Bible? The temple which was discovered was begun by Chinofuro and dated by Flinders Petrie around 477-750 before Common Era, and work was continued by later pharaohs including Hatshepsut and Amenhotep or Mulumtapa III, 1490 before Common Era and 1400 before Common Era, according to Petrie. That's another way that Petrie gave the dates. So when you go there and you dig deeper, this existed prior to the Exodus. So when Moses was going up the mountain, this was already there. This is quite explosive. This is the statue of Rui, high priest during the rule of Ramesses II. We have shown him many times. He's one of the greatest rulers from ancient times. He is resting his arms on the headstone of the goddess Hathor or Sitole from Karnak. An older temple complex and priesthood existed on Mount Sinai well before the dates of the Exodus. They are there, the pillars that are found there, and all the explanations are here. There is the evidence of the cartaging or the transportation of the findings from Sinai to Glasgow in England, following gifts, collection of 131 Egyptian and Roman antiquities from Diospolis Para, Upper Egypt. All that's proof that they were taken over 1899. Although most of the artifacts have been stashed into private hoards, the evidence from Hathor or Sitole complex demands a radical understanding of the biblical narrative that changes all what we have read about the Sinaitic revelations, the origins of the 10 Commandments, Moses going up the mountain and spending 40 days. So Moses was going there to these temples. So when they write the Bible, they say he went into the mountain and spent 40 days, while he was in the temples here. It's all esoteric. No wonder the archaeological digs hides these and manufactures restored facts and never teaches people that. So when you see your pastor, your preacher, your prophet, anyone who reads the Old Testament in quotation, they are lying. Again, this is a statue of Tateshera, alright, grandmother of Hermes, who conquered and drove out the Hyksos. And the battles to drive out the foreigners have always been there. These are the people worshipping. So you see Muslims going down like that. That's how we worship. That's our way of worshipping. Right? You see, this is the hunters, and all these are our artifacts as Africans. We continue with the book by Neil M.C. Sinclair. Now we look at the interpretation of various stories that are found in the Bible, specifically stories that are in the Old Testament, like the Jacob's ladder, which has been interpreted and taught by esoterists and many others as something that is mysterious, out of this world. But they don't tell you the source. They don't even tell you how Jacob had that dream. Right? The ladder itself that consists of the bodies of the gods Horesu and Shata, good and evil, your ancestor, your mother and father, it all ties up. Your totems and the totemic poetry, the good side of totem and the negative side of totems. This is all represented by these pillars. This is all taught there in the temples. All this which you see there. We see from the pyramid text, Pepi 1, lines 192, 169, 182, Maspero, less inscription, Test, Pyramids, D, Sankara, Sakare or Sekuru, that there were two stages of ascent to the upper paradise. That's what I've just said. That were represented by two ladders. One is the ladder of Sut or Seti or Shata, which is the first thing that you meet when you die. The darkness that you meet, the challenges, where you need the codes, where you need the passwords to go across. As they ascend from the land of darkness, the other is the ladder of Horesu. You have ascended. Horesu means high or higher self of yourself, reaching to the land of light. As Greenberg, one author, also confirms, Jacob's ladder dream comes straight out of ancient Egyptian imagery. Of course, but why speak Greek when you can speak in an African tongue? Jacob's ladder dream comes straight out of African consciousness and imagination. As has been said before, and as E. Wallace Bash affirmed, Ausari was the African god par excellence, an ancestor. Shikiro, Yusa, the greatest of all our ancestors. When you finish all your ancestors, when you finish naming all your ancestors, the many that you can name, you come to Ausari, you come to Horesu, you pass Shata, you come to Ausari and Isisu. I've decoded a powerful and hidden esoteric teaching here. Thus, Jacob's dream depicts the same ladder. He even recognizes that he stands at the gate to heaven, ancestral world. In place of the deities, however, Genesis has angels. As the gateway to heaven, Jacob renamed the city Bethel, house of God. We don't say God, the house of eternal. Nikadzimu. I've interpreted another powerful saying. Coincidentally, the Egyptian identified heaven with the goddess Hathor, whose name means house of Horesu. So that's the priesthood where the sun lives. That's Bethel as a gateway to heaven, and the place where divine lives would be the Hebrew equivalent of the house of Horus, which coincides with Jacob's presence there as a Horus figure. So they stole these stories and wrote them in these books, and archaeology comes and digs up, hides the evidence, and the preachers, the prophets, the teachers, the apostles continue to teach Catholicism and the lies. Given this critical evidence of historical dissembling, is this not verification of the fact that the so-called biblical patriarchs were veritable reflection of very important African figures, ancestors, who came out of the history and mythology of the land of Ham, or Hami, or Kamiti, the true land of the Creator? So straightforward and clear. So the split rock deception is quite debunked by many others. You go to this website, they tell you of the waters of Mariba. This is a YouTube. Go to YouTube and Google waters of Mariba. You can see this YouTube and they explain all what they discovered. But this one debunks them. And they warning, fake news alert, debunked. Contrary to stupid internet videos, it takes more than a camera and a wild imagination to do professional archaeology. So, does archaeological evidence prove the Bible? Yes and no. You have to understand a number of factors. Not always. But why do we have facts? Why do they get mad? Why do people fall for hoaxes? Through religious faith, as we have proved initially, black people want something to hold on to. They've been given the Bible and the interpretation and the Quran and the interpretation, and they have in their hands, they have taken away the ancestors and put a Bible, and people fall for that. So greed, pride, revenge, nationalism, pranks, and gullibility are all in the mix. And archaeological discoveries are pushed forward always as proof there is impossible Nuiba Red Sea crossing route to the Split Rock. That is the proof. This is normal in that place. There are many split rocks in that place. You go to Matopos, you find many split rocks. So it's not evidence. There's no archaeological evidence there. It's the Bible African history. You have to understand a lot of other pre-biblical or prehistorical knowledge. You have to read this book. Is the Bible African History by Neil M.C. Sinclair. It is a powerful, packed dynamite. Let's proceed. From the available evidence, indeed, it appears that the anachronistic patriarchs of the Hebrews are nothing more than mental figments of an active and creative Asiatic imagination. Indeed, archaeologists have yet to find definitive proof that Abraham was ever in the Ur of the Chaldea. And thus, as for everyone else, tradition and spiritual faith is so far the only proof for the basis of such belief, not scientific or historical fact. Therefore, the veritable ministry of false truth had its work cut out for it, as Akhenaten was not only the historical prototype of Moses, as has been discussed in this book, but for Abraham as well, as indicated in chapter 3, since Abraham and Akhenaten are both alleged to have been idol destroyers. French researchers Mesod and Roger Saba also saw Akhenaten as the prototype of Abraham. Indeed, according to Hebrew Bible, Exodus 17:4-5, the rabbi, Brother Saba, demonstrates that the Bible scribes composed the name Abraham as a code from Ab, which means the heart, Ra, which means the son, Aman, father of Ras and Aman's people. These stolen legacies are codes understood by very few, but not even one preacher or one imam or one teacher who dare teach such truths. They are blocked by the funders of universities, archaeological digs, and the people that are running this current civilization. So, since we believe in the Bible and follow all this Jesus, this Muhammad, this Quran, this New Testament, this Bible, this speaking in tongues, all these false prophets, teachers, apostles, ministers, founders of ministers, many of these people that say God has said this, God has spoken to me, God is Spirit of God, hear the revelation, hear the prophets, and they say, I have done these prophecies, they've come to pass. Why, as a race, have we not succeeded? Because we are using a wrong energy system. We are using a slavery colonized mental system and interpretation of the world view. Do pastors, prophets, preachers know the Bible? No, they don't. And more importantly, other than faith, what proof do you have to believe in the Bible? It's peer pressure and colonial and slave mentality. Simple, straightforward. Colonial and slave mentality and peer pressure. The simple answer is for us to have the solution to all our problems is that we have dished our story, which gives us our real identity. It's time to restock and rediscover that which is inside us, which is our identity, which will give us the power, the authority to reactivate that which is us, not through prayer, not through fasting, not through biblical study, not through anything, or Quran, or fasting, or Ramadan, or the Hajj, or Christmas, or Pascha, or whatever, but through knowing who we are. So join us at join@marifado.com and let us rebuild this thing together. This is Marifa Development Organization presentation. Subscribe to our channel, Committee Buru Ethics, Spiritual Rabbi LM Tumizulu. Have a good day. Thank you.